So yeah, it's a little bit cold, but I do have a very serious issue today, so roll the titles. So today I wanted to make my feelings known about a little company that you may have heard of, which is Apple. Obviously, title giving it away really. My issue with Apple isn't to do with the product as such. It is and it isn't. Firstly, I will make it clear that, I do admire Apple in a business sense, because they do make money, and that's a good thing, I think given the economic climate at the moment, it is great that any company can make money. My problem is to do with how they make that money, and it is very, very interesting. Basically, not that long ago, I found out a little thing about the way that Apple make their products, and it's something which I've stuck with, and I've done my research, and I will now invite you guys to do the same thing. There's currently a petition going around which is to do with the ethics standards, so to speak, of how they actually make their products, like who is making them, and how they're making them. And it's very, very interesting when you look into this, and you'll find out. So the petition below, I've put a link to it. It's got a target of reaching, I think it's 200,000 signatures. It can go over this, so if it has already reached the 200,000 signatures, you can still sign it. Obviously, the more people, the better. The reason for this taking place is because of what Apple is doing. And again, I will make it clear, these standards are not just held by Apple. However, it has not long been announced that in the quarter ending on December the 31st of 2011, so the last quarter of the year, Apple made $46 billion. $46 billion, right? How did they make that? Well, you've got like the normal Apple products. So you've got like the iPod, the iPad, the iPhone 2, the iPhone 3, the iPhone 4, and the iPhone 4S. Which, why people would want that, because it's near enough the same thing as the iPhone 4, is past me. But anyway, so this whole issue goes into where those products are made, and they are made in locations around the world, but their main point of location is actually in China. It's in a factory which is owned by Foxconn, and Foxconn, for Apple, under contract, make their products. But this is why I refuse to buy Apple, because they need to change. Now, for years and years and years, Apple have wanted to be bigger than Microsoft, and eventually they're starting to sort of get to Microsoft level. I mean, they've still got quite a long way to go. Apple's still got a little bit of catching up to do, but they could do it, and if they do, brilliant. They saw a giant, they took it on, and they won. That could be a really good story for Apple. That could really go in their favour. But this kind of goes back to Steve Jobs sort of times, when this issue was first brought up into the standards at this Foxconn plant. You have a look on Google, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, on whatever site you can. Try and find like video evidence of what it is actually like in this Foxconn factory. You won't find anything. It's impossible to actually find something which is the true inside of Foxconn. The reason for that is because they have standards which aren't actually that good. These factories where they are produced are pretty low standard. I mean, you would look at the inside of an iPhone or an Apple product, and you would see these little tiny components. They are actually put together by hand. There isn't machinery involved in the making. And yes, there are companies out there which do make their phones and laptops and whatever through computers and machinery, and that's great. These are made by hand. Foxconn itself actually employs, I think it's around about 1 million people throughout the world. So it's a pretty big company. But Apple, okay, they don't employ 1 million people, but they make, in 1/4 of a year, $46 billion, right? So that's kind of like, I see you've got your 1 million people working for you, but I've got $46 billion in my bank. Who has the more power? So Apple use Foxconn to create their products for them. Apple give them all these specification details, what they want on it, what they don't, everything, and Foxconn make this dream happen, and that's great. But when it gets to a point where the factories where this product is made, the staff there can actually be known to work over 30 hours in one shift, right? This has happened. For the factory to be employing staff as young as 13 to work shifts in this factory, and for people to be worked in such a condition that they actually have to go ahead and kill themselves because that's the only way that they can see out of this situation, doesn't that to you seem a little bit wrong? Is it just me? Am I the only one who is sat here going, this has got to stop? And like I said, Foxconn is a massive company, and it isn't only Apple that use them, but Apple is one of the bigger companies that use them. So Apple has more of a say as to what happens. If Apple turned around and said, okay, these are the standards that we want for your employees. We want regular breaks, we want a limit of 12-hour shifts, we want a fair wage for them, we want them to be of a legal age. If they did that and turned around and said, you've got 2 months to make this happen, if it doesn't happen, we'll take our contract elsewhere. If Apple were to do that, that is such a powerful thing that Foxconn would have to change. Why is it that I'm picking on Apple? Well, it's because they are the bigger dog in this game. They could easily turn around and say, your working conditions and ethics are not good enough for us. Change it or we leave. We're out. They could make their products exactly the same, if not better in some cases, but with good standards behind the actual making of the product. Is this making sense? It is in my head, and there is so much that I'm trying to get over to you, and it's really difficult. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a link below to the CBS News report that they did on Apple. They actually go back to when Steve Jobs was with us, and obviously the world knows Steve Jobs is no longer with us. Steve Jobs actually got asked about Foxconn and about the working standards. Now, he will have been taken around this plant, if he has actually visited it. I'm not too sure that he actually ever did. But he's able to say, they have like theatres, they have restaurants, they have this, they have that. And it's like, yeah, okay, if anyone from Apple has actually been taken to the Foxconn place, the people at Foxconn are not going to show you their bad sides. They're not going to say, well, this person here has actually been working 34 hours straight, and they've still got another 2 hours to go until the end of their shift. They're going to take them around to the nice places. They're going to go, well, we have a restaurant, we have this cinema, we have a football field, we have this, we have that. They're going to show them the nice part because Foxconn want to do business with Apple. So I can't really blame Steve Jobs for being misinformed on this. But let me put it to you simply, right? Foxconn at their China department had that many people killing themselves that they've actually put a netting up around the sides of this building, and I kid you not, there are images of this available if you look on Google Images. It's like a yellow netting, the sort that you would use to catch fish, or I don't know when else you would use netting, but you get the point, right? So this has been put up. So if people go up onto the roof of the building and throw themselves off, they're going to get caught in the netting. The worst they're going to do is hit the poles which support the netting and injure themselves. They're not going to kill themselves. This situation actually got that bad with Foxconn that Foxconn brought it into the contract, and the staff had to sign this, that they wouldn't kill themselves. What kind of factory has to bring that in as part of the contract, that you won't go ahead and kill yourself? Where has to do that? You know, I've worked in a factory doing 12-hour shifts, and I was on an agency thing, so you have to be in at least half an hour before your 12-hour shift. So in some cases you're actually on site for like 13 and a half hours. And, you know, there is no music, there's no entertainment, there is language barriers, unbelievable crap standards that I would class as crap. But at no point did I go, oh my god, this job is that bad, I actually want to go and kill myself. You know, and yes, I was paid minimum wage to go and do it, but people didn't go and kill themselves because the standards weren't that bad. So you've got to think, how bad are the standards there that people actually have to go and kill themselves, that this is their only way out? You know, it's unbelievable. And for Apple to know about this is just disgusting. It shows a lack of, you know, goodness in Apple. The Apple has gone bad. I can't believe that Apple know about this and they allow it to go on. What kind of company goes, oh my god, we have this problem, we need to sort it. That's it, that's what Apple do. They say nothing. If you look at this CBS report, they got in contact with Apple to say, okay, we've done this little bit of research, this is what we've got to say, what do you have to say about it? And Apple did. They stayed silent. They got in touch with Foxconn to say, we know about your standards. Foxconn didn't get back to them. Odd. Apple actually have a company in London which deals with, and this is purely dealing with, the issue of child labour in these factories. Have they been to the factory? No. Have they seen inside the factory? No. Have they been invited to go and see the factory? You know, maybe Foxconn have said, well, come and see the standards for yourself. You know, you're trying to defend Apple. Come and see what it's like. No. Foxconn are not interested. What is going on? Seriously, what is going on? It's only after having done this little bit of research that kind of makes me think, I don't want anything to do with Apple. And yes, I know that other companies use it. They use Foxconn to make their products and services and blah blah blah. And while it's bad that other companies do use Foxconn because they are a disgrace of a company, I just think, you know, for these people who worship Apple, where Apple cannot do anything wrong, you know, all of their products are the best ever available, no one has ever done this before, they've come out with this great invention, and it's like, but no, I'm not interested. I mean, okay, let me address a few issues with this Apple army. I mean, first thing, Apple haven't actually invented any products. You know, people have said to me in the past, well, they came out with the first smartphone and that was the iPhone. Well, actually, no. The iPhone wasn't the first smartphone ever created. So, point fail on that. Apple created the first computer. Well, no, they didn't. You know, they followed suit. They made a different type of computer. You know, it had different software on, it was built differently, it looked different, but they didn't build the first computer. They built the first tablet. Well, again, no, they didn't. They built the iPad, and they made it successful, you know, but it wasn't the first of its type. So, if you're going to turn around to me and say, oh my god, Apple created blah 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 blah, no they didn't. Apple haven't actually invented anything. They've just taken something, made it their own, and gone with it. And, you know, their products are successful, and good on them, you know, good. I'm glad that that can happen for them. But the ethics behind their products puts me off them completely. You know, I don't have any Apple software, I don't have any Apple products, I don't want anything to do with Apple, and you know, I just think they're almost as bad as Foxconn for knowing about this labour and not doing anything about it. So if you want to go ahead and do your own research, then I've put a few links below. Go and have a look. If you want to sign it, the petition, then please do. You know, the more signatures, the better. The more signatures, the more Apple is going to sit up and listen and go, people know about this and they're not happy with it. You know? If you do support Apple to the point where, you know, Apple can't do anything wrong, you refuse to believe that this is happening, well, the evidence is there. Go and do your own research. Have a look into the making of your product or products. And, you know, for God's sake, don't be blinded by Apple is great. Have a look at what Apple is doing and make up your mind then. And if you just sit there and go, okay, yeah, this is happening, but like, you know, Apple isn't the only company to do it. Well, no, you're right. Apple isn't the only company that does it. But Apple are one of the largest companies which allow this to happen. And by you not wanting to do anything about this, it does kind of make you a bit of a bad person, because you know about this situation and you refuse to do anything about it. However, if it was you working in this Chinese factory and you were unhappy about where you worked to the point where you wanted to kill yourself, to know that people in this world are just impressed about the work that you do and they actually don't care about you, how would you feel about that? You know, what would you want people to think? Would you want people to understand the situation that you're in and to actually want to take action to help you? Or would you rather people just went, well, actually, I've got my iPhone 4S, so that's kind of all that matters. What do you want? You know? It really does raise some serious questions here. And I don't think there's one person who can actually sit by and, you know, allow this to happen. Or it shouldn't be allowed to happen, and people shouldn't allow this to happen. You know, there's not one person with a good enough reason not to want to sign this petition. You know? So, but look, there are loads of more points to be made with this. And until Apple make a change, until I see that Apple have changed the way their products are made, I won't be having anything to do with Apple at all. And the people who I know who do have something to do with Apple, you know, that it might be that they've bought one of their products, it might be that, you know, they have one of their services, blah 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 blah, I will be kind of disappointed in them people, because, you know, they're choosing to go with a company which the research shows that this company has bad ethics, yet they still decide to support them, and I don't think that's right. You know, so all is in Apple's court. If Apple wants to make a change, they will make the change. The longer that Apple stays silent on this issue, the more people that are actually going to be going, you know what, I don't want anything to do with them. The more people that want less to do with Apple, the less Apple makes. The less Apple makes, the more its competitors win. So, yeah, it's kind of a bit necessary for Apple to take action. So, yeah. So that's kind of my point on this thing. Sorry if I have rambled on, but I do have a serious problem with Apple. And, you know, I genuinely can't stand these people that go, oh my god, Apple is great. Because Apple isn't great. Really aren't. So, yeah, I'll see you guys later.